This podcast is part of the Michigan Sports and Entertainment Podcast Network. Go to michigansportsandentertainment.com for more great podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the How Will I Die podcast starring Nicholas Howe. It's me, Nicholas Howe, once again back to die for your entertainment. This week is not going to be the start of the How Will I Die Does D&D because it is a lot to edit and I don't have a ton of time right now. I am currently in the last semester of my last year in college and we're going into finals week right now, so I am kind of dying on the inside a little bit. But I didn't want to leave you guys hanging, so here's an extra smaller episode where Nicholas is going to die for you. This week's episode, again, is going to be a Nick, not a Nicholas. And the reason for that is because it's going to be a very, very, very short episode. But we're going to get into it in just a moment. We're going to have to set up our Nick stats. So the very first thing that we need is a name for this Nick. I'm thinking College Nick. There's going to be a trend in this episode of me just doing things because I'm very, very tired and because it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was supposed to be writing a paper, but instead I'm recording this podcast. So, College Nick is 24 years old, lives in an apartment, goes to college, obviously, and he's in his last semester of college before he graduates with a bachelor's degree. Let's go ahead and jump on into the story. Being his last semester in college, Nicholas was a little bit worried about graduating on time, making sure that the classes he needed to graduate, he did properly, and the classes he truly didn't care about, he still did properly because he's a 3.5 GPA average. Grade point average GPA person. That comes at a cost sometimes. You see, College Nick, he makes some bad decisions about sleeping, eating, getting things done within a reasonable amount of time. You know, the things that make college living so fun. So College Nick, he decides, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go over to the dollar store. I'm going to pick up some energy tablets. Nothing bad can happen from those. Trust me. So he does. He buys about $5 worth, and he takes 2 at a time, just like the directions say. For the first little bit of time, he's perfectly solid. And then a day passes and he hasn't slept. He's just been working on writing papers on papers on papers. It's stressful for him. But who needs sleep when you can not sleep and instead just ingest some pills that are technically speed, but legal? And you can get them at the dollar store or the convenience store. After about 3 days of this routine, College Nick was not feeling good. So a problem that College Nick already had is he eats once a day because he's an idiot. Also because he's poor, but mostly because he's an idiot. And a lot of the food that he eats once a day happens to be dollar store frozen items like Hot Pockets and chicken nuggets and stuff like that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, most dollar stores like the Dollar Tree have a frozen food section, and the reason that they have that is mostly because those items are going on a clearance and then they're not sold by big stores. So the dollar stores take them wholesale. The way the dollar stores work is pretty wild, but that's not the point. College Nick's diet is really bad, and that doesn't mix well with the speed tablets that he was taking. Energize or Energizer. Nope, that sounds really bad. Whatever. He's taking these pills. It's been about 3 days since he started taking them, and he has not slept a wink. He is hard at work on a paper that's due at midnight that night. Suddenly, his eyes won't shut for a solid moment. His hands keep typing away, but his brain is not telling his hands what to type. As he's reading, trying to comprehend the words on the page, he can't because his body, at least his eyes, and his mental abilities have been frozen. He's in the middle of an overdose of this speed. As he tries to fix himself a little bit, his body doesn't work with him and his mind doesn't work with him. So internally he's screaming, "Move, you idiot, do something." But on the outside, his hands keep typing away and his eyes stay peeled open for hours. Soon, that constant stimulation gets the better of him. While sitting in his chair typing out his paper, well, what was a paper, at this point, looking at the Word document on his computer, It's just a bunch of letters thrown together with spaces and numbers in between. But his heart gave out. He starts to die very slowly, very painfully. But he knows what he did wrong, and he accepts it in that moment as his brain starts to shut down, and he has one last lucid thought. I might as well die for my degree. I'm pretty sure they'll give it to me post-mortem. If they don't, I'm gonna sue them. And then he thinks no more because he died, and College Nick is dead. That's it for the story. We're gonna jump right on over to the middle section, and then we'll be back with the history and rating and something else at the end. Hello and welcome to the middle section where we talk about things and life and things. So, this week we do not technically have a sponsor, but I'm going to do a few shout outs just for the parody of life. Before that, I want to address the elephant in the room, which is the fact that this is a regular How Will I Die episode and not a How Will I Die Dungeons and Dragons episode. What? Nicholas, you said, you promised, you said and you promised. Well, life, okay. I'm so sorry. I tried really hard to edit the first episode. It was just so much, and I'm so sorry. I got about halfway through, and I had to stop because getting halfway through took me 2.5 hours, and I don't have that kind of free time right now. I'm not trying to complain, and I'm so sorry that I am, but I'm trying my damn best. Although this is not a Dungeons & Dragons episode, I do want to update you on that. We've got all episodes recorded. They just need to be edited when I have a single moment of free time. And then they'll be published on a bi-weekly basis. Nope, on a weekly basis. Sorry. And each episode will have a middle section just like this, where we talk about promotions, give shout-outs to other shows on the network, the MSC network, if you're not following them on Twitter. That's at MSC Network on Twitter. And just kind of talk for a second. This is my zone where I can talk to you guys and it doesn't have a bearing on the rest of the episode. This week's episode is brought to you by, technically, hopefully, a few people. So, a few weeks ago, I sent out graduation invitations, and I sent 5 very specific ones that I thought would be funny to send. The first one I sent was to the Nicholas Sparks Foundation, care of Nicholas Sparks, and the reason for that is because I'm graduating in North Carolina. He's the most likely person to show up if I sent someone one. The next one that I sent was to the McElroy family. Obviously, I know I'm not going to receive any kind of letter back, but I had an extra one, and I figured I would send it off to the boys. They're a big reason that I podcast. Another person I sent one to was Chad Michael Murray, which was a weird one to find the information for. Technically, I didn't send it to Chad. I sent it to his wife, and that's a whole nother thing, whatever. But I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is where One Tree Hill was shot, so if he, thinks he might know me, he might send me some money, or, send me some good vibes. I don't know. And then another group that I sent a letter and a graduation invite to is the NAD Pod. Not another D&D podcast. They are some really great people. It consists of Brian Murphy, Emily Axford, Jake Hurwitz, and Caldwell Tanner. They're all alumni / still writers for College Humor. They're all a big part of Dropout.tv. So I sent them one as well, and I just thought it would be funny. I also sent them a letter kind of basically asking them to put my name in the hat for a job at anywhere that they work, because God, I need a job. As a side note, if anyone is hiring for someone who writes stories, writes comedy, writes in entertainment journalism, I have all those things, so reach out to me, please. I really need a job. I'll be in the LA area. You can hit me up. I'm pretty cool of a dude. But outside of them, we also have a very special promo that I'm going to play you in just a moment from the Brew Crime podcast. So here they are. This is Brew Crime.
This is Brew Crime, a craft beer and true crime podcast.
I'm Mike.
I'm Beck.
And I'm Nina.
And we're your hosts.
We pair a true crime story with a craft beer
That Nina will probably hate.
Yeah, probably.
Whatever. You can find our show on all your favorite podcast apps, and if you can't find it, contact us, and we'll try and change that.
We can be found at brewcrime.com or on Twitter at brewcrime, on Facebook at brewcrime, or if you want to go to our group, it's group/brewcrime on Facebook, or on Instagram at Pacific Beer Chat.
Join us as we discuss the horrible crimes that surround us and try not to giggle.
I definitely giggle every time I listen to them because they're wonderful people. But that's going to be it for this middle section. Let's go back and find out the history and our ratings of College Nick's death. So the history of this one is a little bit here and there and here and there. Obviously, the big one is that I'm in my last thing of college and I'm very, very tired right now. And I'm recording this podcast and I'm working on 3 papers right this second in the background of this podcast. But the biggest difference between myself and College Nick is that I did go to sleep last night. I also don't take those speed pills. The speed pills are a big problem because they're so easy to get a hold of. You can literally walk into a convenience store or, like I said, the dollar store and find these like energy pills that are filled with so many chemicals that are terrible for your body, and just like take those and take a bunch of them. The reason that I know about these as a big problem is because I had someone very close to me have a issue with them where he was taking them a lot instead of sleeping or taking any time to rest and recover himself. And so it's actually a true problem, but that's not what this podcast is about. This podcast is about dying and death, and if you need to learn something, it's that you shouldn't be taking speed pills, but I hope you already know that. And I'm sorry if you don't. So let's go over the facts of this case. I don't know why I said case. I've never said case about this before. I think it's the Brew Crime guys, gals, people. The Brew Crime crew said case at some point. So now I'm saying case. Whatever. So we've got College Nick. He's in college. He's 24. He has not slept in 3 days. And he's taking speed pills. And he technically died of a heart attack. Also, he had a catatonic, I guess, coma, technically? I'm not sure how to classify what happened to him. But, life. How likely is it that I would fall into that? I think I would probably give it about a 5. And the reason I say that is A, college. B, I'm still 24. C, I have gone multiple days without sleeping due to college stuff. Not right now, but in the past I have. Definitely during past finals week and past finals weeks. And maybe this upcoming finals week because, God, I'm so unprepared. But maybe because of the fact that I won't ever take those speed pills because I don't feel like ruining my life a little bit, maybe that lessens my chance. That's why I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. It's not extremely likely, but it's not super unlikely that I would have a heart attack because I didn't sleep for multiple days and because I was ingesting pure caffeine and other chemicals that are not super great for me. I don't know. It's weird. Instead of doing a spam slam this week, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a look at the Dungeons and Dragons episodes. It has nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons or honestly anything else, but you get a feel for the comedic value of the 3 people that I chose to be on the show with me. So go ahead and take a listen to that. I'm gonna go to bed now because even though one of the papers is due in about 6 hours, I really, really need sleep. So good night and goodbye, and I'll do my sign off at the very end like I always do.
Like a garage.
Stop laughing and be serious. It is your podcast.
Why do I have to be serious?
Podcast.
Yes, that's
Cast of the
that
pod.
theatrical enunciation.
Podcast.
Don't do that.
Podcast isn't by you.
That's my
Podchan.
I'm gonna pass out.
Has the regret seeped in enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or did you pick the right people?
You could
I definitely picked the right people.
You could have had literally anybody, and instead you have me and Tower together, which is the worst combination.
Me and I'm a wild card.
Yeah.
Could be anything.
Yeah, we don't know what's about to happen over here.
This side of the table
I'm gonna
could
go
be...
get drink number 2, so we're ready to go.
I have some really shitty
I forgot you had
lights if
drink
you want
number
them.
1.
I have a whole 8-pack of these in my car, but I only brought 2.
They're pineapple cider?
You didn't. Wait, I didn't. Oh shoot! I didn't offer you any.
No.
Okay, well you can have a sip.
Well, you
They taste
did,
like- they taste
kind
like
of.
the-
Can I
You
try
offered
it?
to pour
There's nothing
some
in here.
into his...
I kind of want to
Coffee.
try it.
You are welcome.
It's true.
I can go get some more from my car. Please do. They taste like what is it? The clear gummy bear.
Sure, I'll try one.
All right, hell yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
And remember, like I always say, don't worry about the inevitable. Focus on the possibilities. Good night.